All right, on today's show, I welcome on a very special guest. He is Cam Iasimone. He is the host of Cam's Corner podcast. Cam, how you doing?
I've been doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing really well, man. How's it feel to be on the other end of the podcasting realm? You're not the one dishing out the questions. You're kind of here just hanging, like getting some questions asked and being the interviewee.
Definitely a little different. You know what I mean? I'm in my studio, like I have all like the stuff set up, but I've actually never been on the opposite end, so it's pretty cool to have the opportunity, and I'm very grateful that I can be a part of the Roadie Run Back.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show, man. I love what you're doing with the show. Your podcast is doing great. I mean, you have some great guests on, and you've interviewed some really, really cool people. I mean, from assistant coach Joe Missoula, and Aaron Gray, who's a fellow Rhode Islander who plays at Southern Hampshire. I forgot the other kid's name. He's Missoula. I forgot his first name, but he plays at Vermont. Plays in Vermont too. So
yeah, Justin. Yep.
Justin Missoula. So you've had some great guests on the show. But before we talk about everyone that you've spoken to on the show, I want to know where the idea for the podcast come about.
Like I told you before, I'm a student at Rick right now. I do like the broadcasting for basketball. In the spring, I'll be doing baseball. And like when I was a freshman, COVID was still a thing, and obviously it still is a thing now, but the restrictions aren't as bad. So freshman year, all my classes were like online. Like I couldn't go on campus. I live in Johnston still, so I commute to Rick, and Rick's like right down the street from me.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any campus life. I wasn't involved with the school. I didn't really, I write for the school too. I love writing. So I wanted to do something to kind of get my name out there. And I'm like, podcast, it's kind of been getting to be like a big thing, with COVID and everything, and everyone's home, everyone's doing the Zoom meets. So I figured, why not start something else, start something else up. So then that summer, my friends, Nick and Tom Camella, they've been on the podcast. They go to Stonehill. I couldn't think of a name. I had stuff lined up. I had, I wanted to talk to Joe Missoula as my first guest. I was, still trying to get in contact with him, and we're on our way. I forget where we were going, but we were in the car, and they were like, "Have you thought of a name yet?" And I was like, I really can't think of a name. And in high school, I was a 3-point shooter, and my hot spot was in the corner. So they were like, "Why don't you just name it Cam's Corner?" And I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of that. So it just kind of stuck with me. And Ice Productions, like I told you, my last Iasimone, people used to call me Ice. People still call me Ice, Cam Ice. So Ice Productions was kind of like the fallback, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's such a cool name. I really like the name of it. And that's actually a really cool story behind how the name got started, the Cam's Corner, and then you have Ice Productions. And it's really cool of everything you've been able to do. I mean, your first guest, like you said, you spoke with the assistant coach of the Boston Celtics, Joe Missoula. How was that conversation? What was it like to speak with him?
It was honestly, it was a little nerve-wracking, to be honest, because it was my first one. Plus, it was with Joe, and growing up with his dad, Coach Dan Missoula, he's my coach my whole entire life, middle school and high school. I've never sat down with Joe, so that was my first time really communicating with him and learning about his background from West Virginia, because I didn't get to watch him play. I was young. But talking with him, learning his experiences, and just after that first episode, I was like, all right, from here, I got to try to be, bigger and better than this. So as the people that I've had, it's you learn connections along the way. And, I'm just grateful that Joe was even available and free to come on the show for my first episode too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a huge interview to start off. You start off with a bang, and then getting an interview and meet other people as well. I mean, what's been one of the coolest things that you experienced by podcasting and making those connections with people?
The coolest thing, let me think. I think just knowing that people are interested, knowing that people want to do it and want to give the time and talk to me and stuff like that, because usually people I've sent DMs to some people that haven't answered me, and it's they probably do see it, some of them probably don't, but they just don't have the time. So that, to me, that's all right, yeah, everyone's always busy and stuff like that. You can't discredit anybody for that. But when people actually do reach back and they're like, "Oh, I love the stuff. I've been looking at it." It's it makes me feel good as a person, knowing that I'm doing pretty good, and just to kind of gives me motivation to keep going and bang out videos as much as I can.
Yeah, I know. It's always content. I think it's that's always something I've always learned, is content, and get it out. And I think, yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, there's guys that you just people that you DM, that you try to get on the show, they don't respond back. You see it, sometimes they can't make it, but you'd be surprised how many times people will actually get back to you down the line. There's been people I've messaged, and someone just got back to me, this has been a year later. They said that it would come on the show. It's just sometimes they just don't see it, or something comes up, or So yeah, it will happen. So all the good things. I mean, obviously, if people are taking notice. I mean, you're just doing some great things with the show. I mean, have you ever had anyone that's been your favorite guest? I'm sure that's a tough question, as always. I've gotten that one a couple times.
My favorite guest. Let's see. Like when I think of like favorite guest, I think of like my favorite conversation I've had with somebody, not maybe like the most known person, I guess. Um, Probably like one of my favorite conversations I had was probably with Justin Missoula, Joey's little brother. He was at Vermont. Because like I kind of grew up with him a little bit, like when I had like AAU practices with his dad and his brother who also coached me. Like just him being always around, like obviously we talk kind of like friends, like, you know, back then and stuff like that, but to kind of like relive those kind of memories and talk about like where he's at now at Vermont and like what he went through with like George Washington, like where his first college was. It's pretty cool. You know, I like stories like that. I love learning more about somebody that I already know that I did, you know, that I didn't know. Like, so stuff like that is probably like my favorite, like so far.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm sure it's got to be fun too to like you said, you speak with a friend like Justin and
Mhm.
learn about them and still like hear their stories of things that maybe you didn't know that they went through or
Yeah,
anything like that.
probably like my friends too. Like you've probably seen it. Like my two friends that
Yep.
were on my basketball team, like debating sports with them. So the videos like that are cool because we actually do get into like heated arguments and go off script and like just, you know, stuff like that's pretty cool too.
So like when you guys do like those interview, like do those like do you guys talk professional? Do you guys talk college? What do you guys talk about for listeners to know?
So yeah, that's like a pretty good idea because I do want to get into more like college. Like I'm not the huge like the biggest college like sports fan, but I've, you know, recently I've been getting into it obviously more with PC doing as well as they have been. We usually talk about like the NBA, the NFL. We, you know, some of us like the NHL, some of us like the MLB, so we don't really like touch upon that as much. But like we're really big into the NBA obviously and like the NFL. So that's kind of what we've been like on pace for.
Nice. That's yeah, it's great. That's awesome that you have like some I've always wanted to do some stuff with some co-guests to kind of talk, chop it up a little bit because
Yeah.
I think it's always tough to go solo. I've tried to do that sometimes. It's like I feel like that it's weird.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
I
not
only
as
did it
exciting.
twice. Yeah, it's tough, but some people like it. Some people think it's like, oh, you know, it's more of like a recap. You're not really like, you know, talking about too much, but you know, stuff that people have already seen on like Bleacher Report and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like to engage in like in conversation. I think that's like one of the things that
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like I sound stupid, but I mean that's the whole time. I'm like so what are like for yourself, for you and your friends, I mean, what kind of like sport like what are you guys like all Boston guys? What kind of like favorite teams you guys root
Oh
for?
man, so yeah, they're all Boston fans. I'm a New York fan. I love all New York sports. Well, except the Bruins. I'm a big Bruins fan for hockey, but I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm a Yankees fan. So we have a lot of mixed opinions on stuff, and we get into like I'm actually going with them on the second to go see the Celtics play the Hornets. So I'll probably be a Celtics fan that day. But yeah, I mean, they, you know, obviously like the Knicks, you know, they haven't had as like great of like success as the Celtics have been over the years, but yeah, they always bash me for being a New York fan, so we always go head to head with that.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I feel like the Knicks are starting to come back around though. It's like they've from
Yeah,
like the
definitely
past.
after last year. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Thibs is doing a really good job with them, and hopefully they can get. I mean, I feel bad for the Kimball Walker situation. Hopefully they
Right.
can get someone in there to like. I don't know if
Yeah,
they
trade
get.
deadline. Trade deadline will be interesting. See a
Yeah, it's
couple
going
of
to
weeks.
be super interesting this year what
Mm.
they're going to do. I mean, all teams. I feel like the Celtics need help in some aspect. I feel like the
Yeah,
Lakers need help. I don't know. And Harden wants out of Brooklyn. I see you're
right.
wearing
It,
a
go,
Nets
it goes
shirt.
right down the line. Like that's like what we talk about. It's just stuff like in the NBA, what we think is going to happen, and you know, we just kind of go from there. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we'll see what happens there too. But I also too want to know because you being at Rick, you are calling games for like the Rick's basketball games, and
mhm.
what's it been like too to call those games and to get that experience as well to kind of sit in and watch the games?
Yeah. So as a student, there's a program at Rick that not a lot of people know about. And I look, my advisor, who was my advisor my freshman year, she actually retired, and she told me right before she left, she was like, "Join this program. You know, it gets a good experience with like I don't know if the camera stuff." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I looked into that. I hit up the director and everything, and I guess like the sports manager spot is like the main person that does play by play and all that kind of stuff. So I interviewed for that. I didn't get it, but like the one of the kids that was one of the like assistant managers, he left and went to a different school. So like I was the next guy up. Like I went in right away. And the first game, I remember we couldn't go down to the Murray Center, which was where like Rick plays and stuff at Rhode Island College. And we had to do it in like a little press box, and like the audio wasn't coming through. We only did like half the game. And I was like, this is, I didn't really like it at first because it wasn't like what I expected it to be. Because usually they do go on the court, but I guess, they didn't have the equipment or whatever. So then the next game they got canceled, and the next game they just still didn't have it. So I was like, all right, I gotta like make a decision. So I actually ran into like an old friend that went to my old school in Johnston. He was a couple of years older than me, and he works like officially for like goanchorman.com, which is like Rick's like official, broadcasting. They broadcast all the sports. And he was like, oh my God, Cam, it's nice to see you, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to see how I do a game? And I was like, yes, please. Like, I need some experience. So I watched him, how he did it, how they set up. And I was like, I don't know why this program couldn't do these things. I was getting frustrated. And I asked him, I was like, is it possible if I could help you and join? I could, start off doing PA, which I did. I started off doing PA like over the loudspeakers. And then, a couple of games went by and I just kind of got that big break. I started doing games and they liked how I did it. So they kind of they've had me on all the broadcasts, like back to back, girls, boys. And it's been such a great experience watching them play because they've had a huge run. The girls and boys have been doing insane. So hoping they can both get a championship run, and I can hopefully call a game like that, like a playoff game or something like that.
That's awesome. And that's so cool. I mean, and I know you play basketball and you mentioned that, like, do you think like that basketball background of playing a basketball experience that kind of helps out too, to like call games? Just like, could you like point out like a defense or see what kind of offense they're in as well too?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I'm not like as big as a baseball. Like I played baseball in like middle school, but like I'm gonna have to probably work on that for the spring. Like basketball is like by far like my favorite, and it's just easy to call because I know the game.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and then it's obviously doing the research for the baseball. Yeah, baseball's a little bit tougher. And then Rick has some great programs too. I mean, it's had Coach Cosgrove on the show. She's awesome, like super great, and I love what she's done with the program and able to take it over from Coach Marcus who recently now is coaching with Brian, and you know, but she's doing a great job. And then the same thing with boys basketball. Rick, I feel like Rick has always had a good program and stuff. So what's it like to like see both of those teams on the rise and call both of them as well?
It's pretty cool because I grew up with one of the girls players, Antonia Corsinetti. I grew up with her like in high school. She went to Bayview. She's been doing great like over the course of she's a junior now, so like 3 years. She's been doing awesome. She's starting now. So it's cool to see her play, and it's cool to see the girls get on the run like how they have been over the past few games. Because I don't think I've called a game at home that the girls have lost yet. I think every game I've called that the girls have played, they've won. The boys have lost a few tough ones, like very close games. Definitely the boys' games are just like insane. Like I never really realized, because I really wanted to walk on my freshman year. Like I wanted to try and like actually play, but I figured, you know what I mean? Like I have a passion for this, so I might as well, give up like a little like the basketball dream aspect and kind of just keep pursuing it in a different field. So watching them, obviously talking to, like I told you, Keyshawn Jacobs is the second leading scorer right now in the Little East, and then Cheyenne Darby, his teammate, is at number 1. So they've been just insane just watching them play. A little bit of a slow start after the break, but it's been surreal for sure.
That's great. I mean, it's awesome for you to be able to experience that and have those guys and talk with them, and take that step back too. I know it's always a little bit tougher to take the step back, but and then step into the media realm. But it's awesome for you because I mean, you're young. There's a lot of great things coming up down the line for you for sure. I mean, you had the experience of calling the games, and you're the top guy at Rick right now, so you're getting a lot of experience that other people wouldn't be able to get the experience. So that's awesome for yourself.
Very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's great for you, and you're getting guests from the guys from the basketball team and other guys too, so around Rhode Island. So that's awesome for yourself.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, no problem, man. And then also being, brought it up, you played basketball at Johnston. I mean, what was the playing basketball under Coach Missoula at Johnston, and then as well as Coach Livingston your senior year? What was it like for yourself?
Yeah, Coach Dan, I always say he's kind of been. Obviously my dad too. My dad has been a huge role model my whole life, but Coach Dan kind of was the forefront for like me, like kind of pursuing a dream like with this, like, cause he taught me so many things like growing up from like middle school. Like I got cut my 6th grade year, like my first year in middle school. And, I was like that determined to get it in 7th grade, and I didn't play 7th grade, but I made it. I didn't play. And then 8th grade, it was like, it felt like he almost took me under his wing with along with a couple of my teammates, because like he gave us like a job at the rec center in Johnston, like scoring games, like little things. And then he got us into reffing. So that's something I still do to this day. Like, In the high school experience with him wouldn't have been the same like with anybody else. Like it was just like I told you, like very surreal, very grateful that I was even able to be coached by him. And then senior year I was coached by Coach Livingston and Ed Bedrosian. We made it to the finals and we ended up losing to Lincoln, but just an overall great experience at Johnson. I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Yeah, those guys. I didn't get a chance. I haven't met Coach Missoula, but I met Coach Bedrosian and talked with Coach Livingston and very.
Oh no, I was coached by Bedrosian's dad, Ed.
Oh,
so Mike is the coach now. I was coached by his dad. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's crazy. Oh, yeah. I met Mike. I've met Mike, and he's a super nice guy. And and I also met like Anthony Corsinetti's dad. I don't know if that's.
Yep. He was a little bit of like a trainer for me too, like growing up. I used to work out with Anthony when he was little, so it's kind of cool to see him too, where he's at now at Johnston. Because he went to Hendrick in his first 2 years, and obviously transfer is a big move for like a kid at his age. So props to him, props to his dad as well.
Yeah. Johnston has a good basketball program. I like everything that they're doing over there and making a run. They're in the D2, making a splash now. So it's good. Great to see them up on the up and up.
Right.
That's awesome. And then, so also for yourself too, like for the podcast, I mean, what are the goals with the podcast going forward? What do you like to see? What do you want to be able to do with it?
As far as the podcast, like, try to keep doing what I'm doing with like guests, try to get like, like bigger name people. Not that I haven't got bigger name people, but like, try to reach out to some more like D1 people. I know it's like, I told you it's tough because sometimes they don't answer and things like that. But as far as YouTube too, like I kind of want to branch out YouTube and to make it like almost like a YouTube channel in a way. But I feel like I got to get the podcast a little bit well known first. Then I can have like a separate category and things like that. Cause I want to branch out as big as I can, as much as I can. So for like a big goal that I have for the podcast, probably, hopefully, obviously David Duke would be huge, like thinking like in the future, because I've reached out to a couple of people that know him. He's obviously been super busy going back and forth with the G League and the NBA. And then like when Kyrie was out, like he started a couple games, like, so just great, happy for him, but hopefully soon that could be like my next, like, like big thing.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously busy. Also trying to get him on the show too. It's tough. It's really tough. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see a guy from Rhode Island too to be successful and playing in the NBA and doing great things, and then what he's been able to do. And I love the idea to branch out and do some other things with it too. Right there with you, had some ideas too. Now it's great, man. So I mean, the podcast Cam's Corner is on YouTube. What else is on it? Where else can you find it?
So YouTube is where you can like watch like the video, like Zoom, like we're doing. And then like, you can listen on like Apple Podcast, Spotify. And then on my website too, it's Cam's Corner, camscorner.net. It's like a little like section, like episodes. You can listen through that too.
Nice. Do you directly load them up from YouTube, or you just put them on or do you like directly load them up via where you use Zoom or?
Yeah, no, I use Adobe Premiere, and like I edit all the videos, so I have like kind of like a little background in it. Like it says Cam's Corner, or like little like links in the bottom and everything, and then I schedule it. Usually, like my episode I did yesterday, I scheduled it for tomorrow. So, like just YouTube, I just upload it right to YouTube, and then there's like a separate link I have to do for like Spotify and Apple, so they go out at the same time.
Yeah. And then for yourself, like, what do you want to do goal overall career wise? You're 20, you have obviously great things coming up down the line for yourself. You're doing great things now. Like what's the goal overall?
Definitely to call like an NBA game, work for an NBA team. Like that's the main goal at the end of the day. Going forward, obviously if different opportunities come towards me, like I told you, if I do decide to go to URI and like say I'm calling like a volleyball game or like, anything like that. I'm a big football guy too. I like football. Like anywhere I can start off and like make a name for myself, I'll do whatever I got to do. But at the end of the day, like the big dream would be to be like an NBA broadcaster. That'd be insane. So
that'd be awesome. If you're like another Mike Breen or
something like that. That's what people have been telling me my voice sounds like a little bit. I mean, I don't want to like steal from him or anything, but that's kind of how I kind of, have like a shtick, I guess, like something people will like remember me by.
Yeah. I mean, hey, everyone's got it's a copycat league. Everyone does what they want thing and they add a little twist to it. So that's awesome. I mean, it's great for you, Cam. I mean, you obviously bright future ahead of yourself. Like I said, I mentioned, like you're doing great things at Rick. now, and then whatever the future beholds for you down the line in college and stuff, but you're going to continue to do great things. I mean, you're making great connections now. Look, I mean, the podcast itself is opening up connections for you, just talking to athletes.
Exactly.
So I can only imagine what's going to open up for you down the line coming up. So, I mean, it's great, man, to, see your success and everything that you've been able to do. I love the videos. Everything's so clear. The little graphics at the bottom. So you've done a great thing for yourself. So keep doing what you're doing. Don't, and just remember content, like we said off air. So like,
Yeah,
keep doing what you got to do, man, because it's your podcast is going to blow up. So just keep doing what you got to do.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Yeah, I mean, that's all the question I have for you. Do you have anything, comments, statements for me before we sign off?
I just appreciate the Roadie Run Back. I appreciate you having me. Like, I know we said earlier, like it's tough, like, schedules and things. I'm finally glad we were able to get an episode in, and I've been looking at your episodes too. Like, it's cool how you do like the like you've talked with some of these people like before, and then you kind of like catch back up with them. So I think that's a really cool concept. I like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm extremely lucky for like everyone I've had on and spoken with, and people I caught up with, and just trying to get, keep those connections, because I guess the thing is when you're on my show and like guests, players, coaches, whoever, like I'm usually just their biggest fan, and I'll root for them and want to see them be successful, or see their team be successful. And I always like catching up with them, because I think it's just a cool aspect just to talk with them and see how they're doing now and what they've been up to. And it's always fun to, catch up with someone and keep that relationship. So it's it's been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's a really nice comment.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to do something down the line too. Maybe the two of us, we can talk some sports or something together where we'll do like a little collab, or even if you want to talk NBA, we could talk NBA. I love NBA basketball, so maybe we need to do a collab, talk some playoffs or whatever you want to do down the line.
Yeah, you've talked to some Johnston guys, right? Like at the high school, the basketball team.
Yeah. So I've actually had like the whole like I think like 5 or 6 guys on it, like on the Johnston.
Oh, right. Yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They're all like great kids. Derek Salvatore, great player, and just like having those guys on. So it's cool to speak with all of them.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I actually do remember that now. Yeah, now that I think of it.
Yeah, I gotta up my gear a little bit. I was like, I gotta figure out, like, I think I have to buy more equipment. Actually,
yeah, right.
Let me just why don't we just say goodbye now? I can just sign off, and then we can talk off air. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Editing. I'm just not like, I like editing, but like.
No, I feel you. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, it was great having you on the show, man. I really appreciate it, and be on the lookout for Cam's Corner. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all podcast platforms. Cam is doing some great things. So, Cam, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime.